Spider-Man No Way Home was worth the wait, but what's going on with that ending? And what are we supposed to take away from those post-credit scenes? Near the end of No Way Home, it's determined that the only way Doctor Strange can reverse his earlier tampering with the multiverse is to cast a second spell. This time one where everybody, everywhere forgets that Peter Parker ever existed. It's an agonizing decision, but one Pete accepts for the good of humanity. As Strange casts a spell, our hero has a few remaining moments to say goodbye. First to the other Spider-Men who helped out and became like brothers, then to the closest thing he has left to real family, Ned and MJ. Peter shares a tender, tear-filled moment with MJ where she urges him to reintroduce himself after her mind has been wiped. Peter promises he will. After the spell is cast, Peter walks the streets like a ghost. He is no longer bothered by strangers, no longer hunted by J. Jonah Jameson, but he also no longer has anyone who loves him, looks in on him, or even knows he is alive. Of course, the temptation is too strong to not immediately go to the coffee shop where MJ works. There, Peter has a big speech prepared, but one he promptly abandons when he finds Ned and MJ celebrating their acceptance into MIT, the dream college that Spider-Man's drama previously had them excluded from. Speaking briefly with MJ, it's clear that the duo still have that same chemistry we recall from the other Spider-Man home films. But this time, rather than leaning into it, Peter thinks it's best if he keeps his distance. Nevertheless, that look on MJ's face when we last see her might indicate that there is some spark of recognition.
What are you hiding, Peter?
Now, Peter has a place of his own and a chance to start over. Spider-Man seems likely to once again be on the verge of putting the neighborhood back into friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Drawing parallels to the Spider-Man incarnations who came before him, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is forced to wake up to the realities of criminal behavior. But this time, rather than an Uncle Ben, he loses an Aunt May. In the previous home movies, Uncle Ben has never been mentioned, leaving it ambiguous whether Holland's Peter Parker suffered the go-to tragedy for Spider-Man's typical origin stories. Aside from some initials on a suitcase and a vague line in Homecoming saying he can't reveal his superhero identity to Aunt May, quote, with everything that's happened to her, or a quick acknowledgement of Ben in the What If series, the character hasn't really existed in the MCU. This point is driven home in No Way Home, when Peter meets two other Spider-Men, played by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, of course, who both share their Uncle Ben stories, and he doesn't seem to find common ground with them. Instead, his grief emanates from Green Goblin killing May. Her final words before we realize the severity of her injuries? With great power, there must also come great responsibility. In the ensuing scenes, we see Holland's Peter Parker grappling with various stages of grief, even giving in to his bloodthirsty impulses as he nearly beats Norman Osborn to death after spending much of the film trying to save his life. Eventually, the other two Spider-Men convince him to walk a gentler path, with Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker even stopping him from impaling Goblin with his own glider, and Goblin lives to go home. Unfortunately, May doesn't. After Doctor Strange casts his spell making everyone forget about Peter Parker, one of Peter's first moves is to visit his aunt's gravestone. While there, he just happens to find himself standing alongside Happy Hogan, who is still distraught over the death of his girlfriend, but now oblivious to not only Peter's identity as Spider-Man, but who Peter even is. The slate has been wiped clean. Tony Stark's mentorship, all that incredible technology, the safety net Happy seemed to provide whenever Peter found himself in trouble, it's all gone. And now Peter is back to square one as Spider-Man, which in essence would seem to indicate it's time to go buy himself a new red hoodie. The famous Spider-Man pointing meme originated from an episode of the 60s animated series where a villain dresses as Spider-Man, resulting in some corny confusion.
There can't be two Spider-Men.
The meme isn't explicitly referenced in No Way Home, possibly because Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse already made the joke, but with three Spider-Men running around, it isn't for lack of opportunity. Despite Andrew Garfield's insistence to the contrary, he is in the film, and so is Tobey Maguire, both playing Peter Parkers from the different universes where their film franchises took place. At the end of No Way Home, when Pete and Doctor Strange finally figure out a way to send everyone home, this not only includes the villains but also those other guys in the red and blue pajamas. So after a teary goodbye, Holland Peter Parker sees Garfield Peter and Maguire Peter return to their own realms. Yeah, Maguire got stabbed, which initially seemed like some matter of concern, but apparently he's going to go home, find himself a really big band-aid, and have his MJ make him a nice big bowl of chicken soup. Hey, we're here to explain the ending, not nitpick it. Spider-Man No Way Home features a pair of very cool post-credits sequences. The first piggybacks off Venom Let There Be Carnage. Specifically, it follows up on that film's post-credits scene, which seemed to indicate an impending convergence of the Venom and Spider-Man franchises. In the No Way Home credits scene, Eddie Brock is a few drinks deep and wearing a Mexico cap as he grills a bartender at the resort in the MCU. After learning about Iron Man, Hulk, Thanos, and the bartender's tale of woe about the snap making his family vanish for 5 years, Eddie becomes determined to connect with Spider-Man in New York. Unfortunately, MCU fans have just enough time to get excited about the possibility of Hardy's Venom and Holland's Spider-Man coming face to face before Eddie Brock and Venom are sucked back to their own universe when Doctor Strange's spell takes hold. Sorry Marvel fans, it seems like this meetup won't be happening anytime soon. But wait, Eddie does leave behind a tiny glob of black goo on the bar. Undoubtedly, this remnant of Venom will soon find its own host, perhaps opening the door for some sort of dual Venom storyline. The scene seems to indicate that Tom Hardy's Venom will continue in his own films, while some sort of symbiote storyline could soon begin infecting the MCU. If you stick around until the very end of all those names, you won't so much see an end credit scene so much as what is essentially a trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It seems unlikely this will disappoint you in any way, however, as the trailer looks amazing. We can't show it here, but here's the gist. Doctor Strange is told, "Your desecration will not go unpunished," clearly facing the repercussions of the spells he cast on behalf of his spider friend. In a series of quick images, we see Doctor Strange dealing with fractured narratives and competing realities, including a shot of Dr. Christine Palmer getting married. But perhaps the most exciting moment comes when Strange journeys to some remote tree-lined location to solicit help from Wanda Maximoff, last seen in WandaVision terrorizing the residents of a small town while grappling with her own dangerous, tenuous grip on reality. Wanda admits she made mistakes, but Doctor Strange says he's not there to talk about what's happened in Westview. After a few more glimpses of plot points that seem unsettling to say the least, Doctor Strange is told the greatest threat to our universes is you. Then an evil Doctor Strange appears, like the one in What If, delivering the ominous line, "Things just got out of hand." We'll have to wait until May 6, 2022 to find out what this all means when Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness hits theaters. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about Spider-Man No Way Home are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.